Okay, guys, WoT tank review time. I know I don't usually do WoT tank reviews, but I've just been kind of upset at the lack of quality reviews for certain tanks. That's video reviews, because, text reviews you really have to take with like an entire jar of salt, because they're usually always completely wrong and extremely biased. Anyway, first tank I want to review is this baby right here. Yeah, it looks like a KV-1, but it's not. It's a KV-220. It's a I know what you're thinking, like, well, I'm never gonna get one of those, but they actually put this in the store during two fairly recent holidays. It was in the gift shop, and I picked one up. Uh, Not many people picked one up, and I can't even believe they put this in the gift shop because this thing is insane. Just like the armor on this tank is so overkill that it's ridiculous. If you look at it, it's basically a KV-3 body with a KV-1 turret. The frontal straight armor is a little bit weaker than a KV-3, but otherwise it's very good. If we look, it has 100 millimeters of frontal hull armor, 100 millimeters of side armor, that's enormous, and 80 millimeters of rear armor. There are tanks in this game at tier 5 that just can't penetrate this. And I'm talking about like legitimate tanks with at least 110 millimeters of penetration. They cannot penetrate this tank effectively. I'd flash up the tank inspector, but the armor layout on this is pretty basic. You've got 100 millimeters down here on the lower plate, but it's sloped back a bit, so it's about 115, 120 effective. You've got 80 millimeters on this plate right here, but it's sloped back at over 70 degrees, so you're going to bounce off that. And then you've got 100 millimeters right here, sloped back just a bit, giving you about 120 millimeters straight on. The driver's port and the hull machine gun are weak spots, but they're not super weak spots. I mean, it's like 80 millimeters effective where these are, so that's not really where I would aim because there's better weak spots. On the side of the tank, this piece up here, this entire piece, is 100 millimeters. Just straight on, 100 millimeters. Think of that. There's tier 9 tanks that don't have 100 millimeters of armor on the side. Think of the side scraping potential at tier 5. If you angled like this armor is basically like 200 millimeters. And even better, the tracks cover the majority of the sides, making this part of the armor 140 millimeters effective from straight on. I mean, I know people are thinking, well, about 140 millimeters isn't that much, but there's tanks at tier 5, like T-49, M10 Wolverine, uh, there's tank destroyers at tier 5 that cannot penetrate 140 millimeters except at very close range on a good roll. So this is a no hit zone from the side. Then the back down here is actually 100 millimeters, and up here is 80 millimeters. It's legendary armor. Like, it's ridiculous. And then the main weak spots on this tank are the turret. Turret sides are only 75 millimeters. Very weak. They tend to average around 80 because there's a slight slope there. Turret rear, 80. And then the front of the turret is 90 millimeters. So if you're ever facing one of these head on, you can't penetrate it. The spots to shoot are this area around the gun mantlet. You will penetrate here. This is legitimately 90 millimeters. Don't shoot the gun mantlet because that could lead to anything. Gun mantlets are way too sketchy. But at tier 5, the majority of players are not going to know this is the weak spot. So average games with this tank, I take anywhere from 20 to 30 or even 40 hits without taking any damage really at all. I just can't believe they put this tank in the gift shop. Anyway, I'm just going to look at, just to show you a comparison of the quality of a written review versus a video review. I'm going to read what it says on the World of Tanks wiki, possibly the most biasly sourced thing ever. I might read it if I just want to know a little bit about a tank, but trust your own research, believe me. So it says, the KV-220 is a Soviet Tier 5 premium heavy tank. It's currently not available in the in-game store. Experimental tank developed in the spring of and summer of 1940. The only prototype was withdrawn from production due to engine breakdown. Obviously, it's going to be identical in all ways to the KV-220 beta test. This was the beta tank on the Russian server, I do believe. It's basically a KV-3 hull with a KV-1 turret. It has an adequate gun for its tier. We'll just flash that up. The gun has 99 millimeters of penetration with standard ammunition. A lot of times when you read written reviews, they're like, this tank has good armor, but the gun sucks. 99 millimeters, really? You're going to say the gun sucks? You've got tanks like the T-14, which their gun has 92 millimeters of penetration. Look at this. The T-14 has slightly higher DPM. 99 millimeters of penetration isn't that bad, especially when no one can hurt you. And then the aiming time, dispersion, it's a very similar gun to the T-14's gun, but in my opinion it doesn't seem quite as wonky, though my crew in the KV-220 is superior to the crew in the T-14. Okay, so let's go back to our KV-220 now. Here we go. Okay. Well, having better armor than the KV-1, it can still easily be destroyed by an upgraded KV-1. I don't know if the person who wrote this never played the tank, or if they were a poor player, but angled correctly, this tank is not easily destroyed by a KV-1. I'll show you some replays where this tank basically bounces everything. I've played tier 6 games where Hellcats are bouncing shots off of this tank. I mean, maybe if you drove straight at a KV-1 who was pumping shots straight through your front plate, but this is a city fighting tank. This is a side scraping tank. This tank, if you use the side armor effectively, much like the KV-5, is basically invincible. If I had to compare this tank to another tank in the game, it's like a KV-5 at tier 5 when no one knows what they're doing, and it doesn't have those frontal weak spots. Okay. Yeah, Christmas bundles 2013. Although I didn't buy it in the Christmas bundle, I bought it in some sale right after that. But no one. I saw a couple people driving this tank at Christmas time. We actually were platooning in T-14s. We came across a platoon of these, and it was hell. We beat them, but that's just because they sucked. If we were switched, we would have probably wiped the entire server with these tanks. I was able to put some premium rounds through these weak spots on the front at very close range, and they couldn't effectively penetrate the T-14. That was the only reason. Anyway, let's look at the pros and cons. First one, good armor all around. Like I said before, this tank does not have good armor. The armor on this tank is legendary. 100 millimeters of side armor, the same as a Love. Like, that's insane. You side scrape with this tank, people won't hit you. I've had tanks firing... I've been angled sort of like this, fighting someone to the front, and I've had T-49s just bouncing shots off this armor. It's that strong. If they knew to fire at the side of my turret, it wouldn't be so, but they don't know that. Nobody shoots at a turret if they can shoot at the side, especially at tier 5. Like, if we consider raw numbers, maybe, but this tank, compared to any other tier 5 tank, there's no tier 5 tank with this much armor. You look at the Churchill 3, it doesn't have 176 millimeters of frontal armor. It's only like 88 right here. 76 side armor? No. 50 rear armor. It just doesn't compare. So, this tank, the armor is not good. It's very, very, very good. Large HP pool, that's definitely true. We've got 690 hit points. That's 10 less than the Churchill 3. And... this one's definitely true. The KV-220 is very rare. I don't know why. Maybe because it was in like a $45 bundle for a tier 5 premium tank. But you guys all could have bought it. But it is very rare, and players don't know about these weak spots. So, I mean, I hate to be telling the world about it, but I don't think it'll affect tier 5 games that much. Plus, it's hard to... if you're really far away, as with any defensive strong tank, it's hard to hit the weak spots. Okay, so we've got, for cons, we have slow turning rate, slow speed and slow acceleration, but it's a heavy tank. It has average, you'll see in the replays, it has average speed. Like, when you compare it to the T-14 with the T-14's mad horsepower per ton ratio, this tank turns a lot better than the T-14. Also, it goes 33 kph, which is slower than the average of 35. But 33 is only slightly slower. It's no Churchill. This tank can go pretty fast. I'd say it's at least equivalent to a well-crewed KV-1. And then it has low penetration, of course, but, you know, what do you expect? At least you don't have the Matilda Force gun, which has 86 penetration. You've got 99 penetration. It's good enough at tier 5. And gold penetration is adequate if you really want to use it, but I go most games without firing any APCR at all. Then you've got a high aim time. It's a Soviet gun. Poor view range. Yeah, 310. Poor signal range and weak turret cheeks. I mean, while all that stuff is true, this isn't the sort of tank you need any of those stats on. This is the kind of tank, it's a damage sponge. A lot of people don't seem to understand the world of tanks. Like, the gun isn't everything. Some games, like if you're driving your KV-5 or your KV-220 or KV-4 and you take like 25 hits, that means that's 25 hits that aren't hitting your allies. It's a bonus. The last game I played in this tank, which I'll show you a replay of it, I get hit, I believe I was hit 28 times, or was it 38 times? Let's take a look here really quick. Oh, it's not going to be on here because I'm retarded. I'll show it to you later. Okay, this replay's got us in a straight tier 5 match. Looks like we've got some decently good players on either team. Not many heavy tanks this game though, and that's unfortunate for the enemy when I'm driving this tank. Okay, just gotta wait for that countdown, and we're off. Maybe we weren't off. Okay, now we're off. Okay. As you can see, we're taking off on a road, so our acceleration's pretty decent. We're already up to our top speed. We're outpacing a Matilda. Like, you know, people say this tank's slow, but it's not that slow. It's just as fast as the average heavy tank. I mean, 33 is going to be lower than, you know, lower than the average speed for a heavy tank, but 32, that's 2 kph. I meant to say 33. That's 2 kph slower than the average of 35. And it still accelerates as good as it ought to. So my favorite spot in the KV-220 or any real heavy tank is this far right corner around E1. This is where you can really scrape pretty hard. Okay, so we've got a Type T-34 in front of us. We just took a shot from a Matilda. It's not much of a risk. Okay, so I'm trying to aim at that T-34, but the aim time on this gun is not that good. But if you can hit him, you'll pin him. Matilda's hitting me quite a few times, but he's really got no chance at really taking me out from this angle. He's off to the left there. Okay, track fixed. I've been hit 5 times by the Matilda. That's not much. A Chihi just hit me with an HE round. I don't know what they're expecting to do with that, because that tier 4 crappy HE is not going to penetrate my armor. So I put one to the Chihi. I put one more into the Chihi. And I turn to engage the Matilda. He does have heavier armor, but as long as I aim his flat surface armor, it should penetrate. Oh, I got a little leg spike there, that's why I stopped. I'm being hit over and over and over and over again by a Type T-34 off in this direction over here. I can't actually see him right now, but he's hitting me over and over again. If you look at that hit log, I've been hit 22 times. There's also a Valentine over in this area. I move out into cover because those guys aren't making much of a threat of me, so I just got hit twice by the Type T-34. Both were penetrating shots, so he finally figured out to aim at the side of my turret. That's where those shots penetrated. But I'm still not going to worry about him too much because I've only been hit twice, and I do have 690 health. The Type T-34's 57mm gun, I believe, is 112mm of penetration. So, with my slight angling, he was unable to penetrate. Spot a Matilda. I put one to the side of him, but I bounce off. I almost friendly fired my guy there, but I did take out that Matilda. Now I'm advancing up against that Type T-34 and that Valentine. I'm not too worried about the Valentine, because the Valentine should not be able to penetrate me, but at close range, the Type T-34 should be able to put some shots into me, possibly, so I'm going to focus on him. Put another one into the Type T-34's turret. Another one into the front of his hull. At this range, his hull armor's not going to stop me. Type T-34 is down. Now, all we have is the Valentine. Brave little guy, but he's got no chance here. Valentine's down. If you look at the hit log, I've been hit 38 times. Mostly by light guns, though, so it's not super impressive, but 38 bounces from a Type T-34 is still fairly impressive since its gun does have over 100 millimeters of penetration. And he wasn't that far away, so I'd put him in within 100 meters, so that's fairly decent. Now we're just rolling around into the cap. There's only an M4 left. I don't really have much of a shot on him, so... Yep, I missed the shot. Low muzzle velocity on this gun. Anyway, that was an easy win, but think if all 38 of those shots had gone into the rest of my team, huh? Okay, we've got another quite decent recording on the Steps map. It's another Raw Tier 5 game. This time I'm in a platoon with my friend Talkin and his Excelsior. This one's a little bit interesting because if you notice, the other team has a very highly skilled, two very highly skilled players in the Havoc clan, including a Unicum T-49 player, which is kind of bad news because the T-49 is a pretty good tank, so we're a little bit worried about that, though it ends up not being as big of an issue as one would think. Because apparently this guy doesn't actually know how to play the T-49. So anyway, we're rolling up here. The T-49 just immediately appears along with an M3 Stewart. That is the Havoc player right there. I'm not sure what he was thinking here. If I was driving like an M1 or something, I mean an M4 or something, I would have just hit him a bunch of times there. But luckily for him, my gun is not superbly accurate or quick aiming. That's one of the problems with those really fast tank destroyers like the Hellcat and T-49 is you often outpace your team. Anyway, the T-49 actually just got blown up by a Valentine AT. So the Unicum guy is already out of the game. So yeah, when you're driving the T-49 or the Hellcat, T-49 especially at this tier, you gotta make sure you don't outpace your team completely. Because if you're the only one getting shot at, you're going to die really fast. Especially because the T-49 gets wiped out by single shots from any decent derp gun in Tier 5. Okay, so we've been rolling, just taking pot shots at guys. There's an M2 medium out there. He's really no threat. Take a couple shots at him. You really get to see some of the quirkiness of this gun. It's not a great gun, but I do tend to average over 1,000 damage at least every game, which is pretty good for a non-premium tank, so it's pretty nice. We run into this KV-1 who is kind of daft. I don't know exactly what he's doing here, because, I mean, he could face his armor or something, but he just keeps giving me the flat side of his tank. I mean, I assume he's not familiar with the KV-220, but he still could have at least faced his tank towards me. I was having a bit of trouble penetrating through his tracks and his side, but when I aimed a little higher, I was going right through him. We've got another KV-1. Keep in mind the wiki says that a fully upgraded KV-1 will make quick work of this tank. Yeah, that's why you don't trust the wiki. So we're fighting the KV-1 at very close range. He bounced all of his shots off of me. I actually just got penetrated by the other Havoc player, T-34. He's not going to be able to penetrate anymore. So we're waiting here. There is a Stug 3G up there. I believe he has taken out my platoon mate. First shot bounces. I hit him high on his heavier armor. You gotta hit him low on that plate. So second shot actually hits, lights him on fire. Third shot hits. He puts out the fire. His fourth shot was actually a gold round, and it still bounced off. Fourth shot did go through my tank. I still have most of my health, though. I've only taken 2 damaging shots in 11. Their team has been largely wiped out now. Just still rolling along here. Yeah, you can actually see our dispersion pattern on our team's pretty good. We have a T-49 who has 5 kills. That's pretty impressive. This is a great T-49 map. That's why it was almost disappointing that the Havoc guy died so quickly, because this map is great. This is probably the best, along with Prokhorovka, T-49, and light tank kind of map. Any kind of fast tank will excel on this map, and throwing away your tank that early is really stupid. guess gold rounds can't always save you. Haha, I'm just kidding. Okay, so game's about to end. We've got a Matilda up ahead of us. We're cresting the hill, about to engage the Matilda. We're gonna have a little bit more trouble here than one would expect, just because the Matilda does have decent side armor, and you know, you don't always think about aiming when you're firing at a Matilda. So I bounced that other shot. The Matilda got taken out by artillery. The T-49 is sitting at 7 kills. M3 Lee's out there. I didn't really notice the T-49, so I took the shot, but I missed, and he got his Pools medal, so that's nice. Okay, I'll play one more replay for you here. This one is gonna be near sorry about that, my platoon mate's just testing out my armor a little bit. This one is, of course, on Muravanka. I've got my platoon mate Throw Devil in his Churchill 3, and of course I'm in the KV-220. It is a tier 6 game, though. There aren't too many tier 6s, so we're not too concerned with that. Taken 4 hits already. He did damage my track, but he understood that it was impossible for his gun to penetrate through my tracks and through my side. Okay, so we're gonna stop here, take some shots at this Hetzer up here. First shot bounces off his upper armor. Second shot went into his lower plate and blew him up. It was a fairly good shot. No one else yet, though. I just realized that Hetzer actually killed 2 of our tanks before dying. Okay. View range on, you can see by the circle that the view range on this tank is not great. But, you know, it's as good as it needs to be, like I said. Don't recall how this match ends, so be ready for surprises. I just kind of opened up some replays. I didn't, like, the thing is, I didn't, like, brutally go through all my KV-220 replays and find the best ones. I've just been playing normal games. So that just tells you what the performance of this is like. Okay, we've got a 3001P out in front of us. We just took a shot from a KV-1 in the side armor, but he's got no chance of penetrating at that angle. Matilda just hit me somewhere to the front, I believe, and we just got hit by a gold round from a T-34-85. Another shot from a Matilda goes in. Another shot. Excelsior bounce. Another shot, 3001P. We just took another gold round from a T-34-85. One of them bounced, one of them penetrated. Excelsior shot just bounced off of us. 300 did 43 damage. Matilda ricochet, T-34-85 ricochet, Matilda bounce, Excelsior ricochet, and 3001 goes in with the 105. Yeah, I just died, but that was quite a few shots to have taken. That was very unwise of me to have gone to that side of the hill. So the tank is definitely not invincible when you're getting hit by that many guns. But I did bounce quite a few shots there. And some of those were gold rounds from T-34-85s. So just, you should definitely, you're not invincible in the KV-220, but I just took a very large number of hits there, including many from Tier 6 tanks, and survived for a remarkably long time. Okay, one more game. I know I technically said the last game was the last replay I was going to show you, but I didn't really do a proper closing on that one, so we'll show one more. This is another Runeberg game, and this is a fairly Tier 6 match. We got a lot of Hellcats on both teams. A lot of tank destroyers in general. We've got the rare Churchill gun carrier. We've got KV-1S. We've got 2 Churchill 7s on the other team, KV-1S. I'm platooned up with my friend Talkin again, him and his Matilda 4. Matilda 4 is not a bad tank. I enjoy it. But this video is about the KV-220. Maybe I'll review the Matilda 4 some other time. Okay. So we're cruising up here to my favorite spot like I showed you before. Going pretty well. Just gotta knock over a few trees just to have a little bit of fun. And we're gonna sit right on this corner here. No one's popped up just yet. Trying to set up just to have a nice angle right against, if we look at the, excuse me, if we look here, if someone was to shoot me from this side, they'd be hitting this side and bouncing off, and if someone shot me from over there, they would certainly bounce off. It's not really so much side scraping, because if someone was over here, they would see me, but 100mm plate angled like that has a very high effective armor value. Okay, just opened fire on someone who just barely popped up, but not many targets. Talkin finally got here to join me, since Matilda 4 is that much slower. Even though with that Russian engine, it does have pretty good horsepower per ton. I just blew up a few trucks just to get him out of the way, just because I was a little bit bored. Now I'm going to back up and start trying to take some real shots. Took a shot to the side from a T-40 and a Hellcat. The Hellcat does appear to be equipped with the default turret, and therefore the M1A2 gun. And he puts 2 straight through the side of me. I was surprised those penetrated, but I guess he was a little bit off more of an angle than I had realized. There's another Hellcat, also appears to be using the M1A1. It's strange to see multiples. They must be in a platoon, I guess, maybe grinding together. It doesn't look like it, that's weird. Okay, so we're taking shots from a M4. Appears to be using the 105 gun, but his HE shots are just glancing off my armor. Put a shot through the truck, hit him, and bounced off him. Got this weird view here, this T-40. My platoon mate's putting shots into him, but I'm having a little bit of trouble hitting him over that wrecked tank, so we're going to go ahead and drive forward. I'm not going to sit in the cap like a bunch of fools here. We're going to keep driving forward. So there's that T-40. He's gone. And we've got an M4 off to the side. M4 with the 105. He hits me in the side, does 39 damage. That's a shame. If he was using the M1A1, he probably would have penetrated on 100 damage. He's dead now. He would have been dead anyway, but you know. Okay. Stuck 3. Thinks that someone's ghosting, I guess. Okay. So we're going to keep rolling forward. We're going to go ahead and get out of the cab. I believe Talkin's going to take a different way around. I'm going to go and look around the back of this thing. So far I've taken 8 hits. Looks like, I believe one of those shots was a 105 HE shell that did not penetrate, but the other 2 of those were Hellcat shots from an M1A2 that did penetrate. It's disappointing that I didn't get to get shot at by a 90mm Hellcat just to show off that, but that might happen in the near future. Okay. Whoops, there's one shot, hit me, glanced right off the side of the armor. I don't see him yet, but he did hit me. There's a second shot, glanced off the side of the armor. He is using the 90mm, it appears. Put a shot in the front of the Hellcat. He hit me again, bounced off the side of the armor. Not sure why this guy is firing at the side of my armor instead of the front. Oh, that shot hit me in the front and it still bounced off. Hellcat's down. That range is 160 penetration. Did not suffice to penetrate the front of this tank. Especially because that last shot seemed like it might have hit the slanted plate and bounced. Okay, well, 13 shots in, 1,275 damage, 12 shots received. That's a pretty decent game. Looks like we got a Jackson who's capping the base for some reason. I just got spotted by a guy who immediately died. That was a pretty thorough rout. Either way, I think these replays really show off the effectiveness of the armor of the KV-220. So next time you're reading a review or whatever and someone says the KV-220's armor isn't that good, tell them they don't know how to use their tank. Anyway, I think that's really all we need covered here. So have fun tanking out there.